Winter Storm Uri breaks weather records throughout Texas.
Will Denton City residents be paying more for their electricity?
A helping hand from the most unexpected royal source.
Broadcasting live from the University of North Texas, this is ntTV News at Noon.
Thanks for joining us on ntTV News at Noon. I'm Jocelyn Lassiter.
And I'm Trevor Newell. What began as a cold, wet snowstorm became a deadly weather disaster across all of Texas. At least 22 people died during the past week because of the storm.
Millions of Texans lost power, water, and their homes when pipes burst in the frigid temperatures. Here in Denton, we had our share of snow and cold. The city experienced a snowstorm that broke nearly every significant winter record. The UNT campus had significant damage, with many of the 176 buildings losing power and water.
The university was closed from last Monday, and even today, some buildings are still empty because of the damage. Tonight at 6 p.m., we will have an extended look at the damage and also how the university is getting students back into classes and all the programs back up and running.
Friday mornings felt like a new beginning, and with temperatures expected to come close to 80 degrees today, Alyssa Weems is here with more on this quick warm-up. Alyssa?
You know, Jocelyn, Lucky, it's going to get warmer these next few days. I am really excited about it. I'm not really a snow type of person, so like I said, I'm really excited about these temperatures coming up here in the week. But right now, looking at our current conditions, it's about 60 degrees, but don't worry, it will probably get a little bit lower. Looking at tomorrow's conditions, it will drop a little bit. It will be about 63 degrees, but don't worry, it will still be hot enough to just go outside, take a run. I will have more later on in the newscast for the 7-day forecast. Back to y'all.
Thanks, Alyssa. Flags are currently flying at half staff, but not for one single death, but the 500,000 lives that have been lost due to COVID-19. CNN's Jeremy Diamond has more.
President Biden leading a moment to pause and to grieve, holding a memorial remembering the more than 500,000 American lives lost to COVID-19.
We've been fighting this pandemic for so long, we have to resist becoming numb to the sorrow. We have to resist viewing each life as a statistic or a blur or on the news.
Each candle on the steps of the White House representing 1,000 people who died from the virus during a pandemic, keeping so many separated from their loved ones, even in their final moments.
The people we lost were extraordinary, but just like that, so many of them took their final breath alone in America. I know all too well. I know what it's like to not be there when it happens. I know what it's like when you are there, holding their hands. There's a look in your eye and they slip away.
The grim milestone comes as the fate of Biden's $1.9 trillion coronavirus relief package is in the hands of lawmakers on Capitol Hill.
Now, critics say the plan is too big. Let me ask them a rhetorical question. What would you have me cut?
The House is expected to pass the bill this week, featuring Biden's proposals including $1,400 stimulus checks for millions of Americans, funding for vaccine distribution and medical supplies, and raising the federal minimum wage to $15, an increase opposed by at least 2 Senate Democrats.
The president would not have included an increase in the minimum wage if he did not want to see it in the final package. The stage we're at right now is it needs to go through the parliamentary process.
The U.S. is reporting fewer new coronavirus cases and deaths in recent weeks, but with new variants on the rise and vaccine distribution delayed by severe winter weather, the CDC director issuing this urgent reminder.
We continue to see trends head in the right direction, but cases, hospital admissions, and deaths remain at very high levels. There is still much work to do.
Biden urging Americans to find purpose in the work still ahead, in a nation fatigued by the pandemic.
This nation will smile again. This nation will know sunny days again. This nation will know joy again. And as we do, we'll remember each person we've lost, the lives they lived, the loved ones they left behind. We will get through this, I promise you.
It's been over a month since the deadly attack on the U.S. Capitol. Now lawmakers begin hearings on what happened and how to keep this kind of things from happening again. It all kicks off today with a public hearing for a joint investigation by 2 Senate committees. CNN's Britt Conway has more from the head of one of those committees on what we can expect and who we'll hear from.
We all saw the horror of what happened.
What happened January 6th when a mob stormed the U.S. Capitol? 5 people died, more than 100 got hurt, and more than 230 have been charged. This week kicks off 2 hearings by different committees to examine the security failures that led to the breach. Democratic Senator Amy Klobuchar is the chair of one of those committees. You can see she was inside the Capitol that day. The biggest question she wants answered:
What happened and how we can make sure it doesn't happen again.
Other questions: why was the response from law enforcement delayed? And how were rioters able to breach the building?
There is a lot that we have to unpack.
There are 4 witnesses set to testify Tuesday: the acting chief of the Metropolitan Police Department, the former Senate Sergeant-at-Arms, the former House Sergeant-at-Arms, and the former chief of the U.S. Capitol Police. They were requested to appear based on their critical roles in security planning for that January 6th joint session of Congress to certify the election results. Certainly, the hearing is expected to be a fact-finding mission, but there's also a push to uncover what kind of change needs to happen.
Big decisions have to be made, including who will be hired as a new police chief, and what better protocols can be put in place, what better structure.
I'm Britt Conway reporting.
That winter storm was really something, wasn't it, Trevor?
It absolutely was, Jocelyn. We have Blake Weiland here to tell us more about it. Blake?
While the winter storm might be over, the damage still remains. UNT President Neil Smatresk estimates that 12 to 15 buildings were affected in some form across the campus. The damages included things such as small pipe bursts in the resident halls, the Welcome Center flooding, and even the Athletic Center being damaged. Officials were forced to drain every building to prevent additional damage.
We've been pretty blessed for the most part that the dormitories have not had significant heating issues, certainly cooler than it normally is in some places, and we've had the occasional boiler or hot water go down, but no catastrophic failures really. Sorority houses, a little different story. They've had some pretty significant pipe freezes and had to evacuate and go. They've had to put some of the ladies in some different dormitories, but we've been pretty blessed there.
On top of everything, a citywide boiling order was issued, which led to UNT buying 40,000 water bottles to distribute throughout the campus. In the midst of this, UNT dining halls such as Eagle Landing tried their best to provide everybody with food.
It was a victory followed by a setback, and some of the setbacks we were looking at was obviously no heat inside the dining room. Limited power to some of our equipment. Always when there's an inclement weather condition, there is our resource of staffing becomes somewhat of an issue, but we were able to get a pretty strong plan together. We had some key employees that were staying at a hotel nearby. We put together some carpool systems, and our managers, our directors really stepped up and made sure that we kept the main thing, which was good food and good service during the closure.
That's all I have for now. Back to you at the desk.
All right, Monroe, you ready?
In Houston.
And what you need to know about the recent changes to filing your taxes. Last week's power outages left many Denton residents in fear over the future of the prices of their electricity bill. ntTV's Andrew Fancher has an update on what Denton residents are going to pay.
Most of us did experience the rolling blackouts, and of course the reason for those was a demand by ERCOT, the Energy Reliability Council of Texas, that we shed load.
Winter Storm Uri swept over Texas on Valentine's weekend. 2 days later, she was accompanied by Winter Storm Viola, inflicting the largest state blackout since 2011.
We had to purchase more power in the last 4 days than we have had the past 3 years. So it's a 10,000% increase.
The sudden increase in power has raised a glaring question for Denton County residents. Will the electric bill remain constant?
This month that we're in, we're all going to be billed at the rate that we already had in place, right? The rate that the city council set during the last budget cycle.
To escape the winter crisis, Denton County pulled a short-term loan of an undisclosed amount. City Council will host another meeting on Tuesday to determine whether more money is needed.
So the county would receive money for the cities, and then we would receive it from the county. In that instance, this short-term loan, we don't have this long kind of payment due that we can then, so we can address it that way.
Our elected officials hope to get the necessary resources for our city. For ntTV News, I'm Andrew Fancher.
Winter Storm Uri has also had its effect on those in need of the COVID-19 vaccination. Denton County announced over the weekend that they will only be giving out second doses this week due to cancellations brought on by the storm. This will include the vaccination super site at Texas Motor Speedway. Efforts to get people vaccinated here in Texas for COVID are getting back into high gear. In Houston, a mass vaccination site has reopened. This time it will help the it will be aided by the federal government. The Federal Emergency Management Office will be coordinating the site, and they expect to vaccinate 6,000 people 7 days a week for the next 3 weeks. This site will provide the second doses of the vaccine for another 3 weeks. The federal government will be picking up the entire cost of the operation, the cost of all personnel, and Houston and Harris County. It's the biggest push to get their residents vaccinated.
The impact of FEMA is already being felt in the Lone Star State. The presidential declaration opens up federal help in many ways, besides help with the COVID vaccination efforts. White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki outlined what is coming into Texas now.
The president has asked FEMA to do everything it can to rapidly distribute aid to the state of Texas. So far, more than 1 million meals have been shipped to Texas, more than 4 million liters of water have been shipped to Texas. The Department of Defense fixed-wing aircraft continue to deliver water in bulk to multiple locations in Texas. They've completed 9 missions so far, with an additional 10 missions planned for today. 69 emergency generators and more than 120,000 blankets have been delivered to Texas.
And plans for the president to visit Texas are in the works, possibly by the end of the week. However, President Biden has said he will come to the state as long as it does not stress the efforts for recovery. Help for Texas has come from many sources, some rather unexpected. Prince Harry and Meghan Markle are supporting a Dallas women's shelter that was badly damaged. It's the Genesis shelter that serves more than 3,700 women and children each year. It was very badly damaged by the storms and was forced to shut down for the first time in its 40-year history. But with a large donation from the former Royals, charity called the Archwell Foundation, the Dallas nonprofit will be able to repair its roof and make the other necessary repairs to continue their work.
While we are all dealing with some impact of the devastating storms this past week, one concern has been resolved, at least for a few months. The deadline for income tax filing has been extended. The IRS is delaying the tax deadline for all taxes to June 15th, 2 months later than normal. This applies to both individuals and to businesses. Other states that were impacted by the storms and have been declared disaster areas by the federal government will also get the temporary tax break.
Last week, us Texans had to deal with winter storms that had us wrapped in blankets and waiting for the world to get back to normal.
It certainly felt like a state of survival. Alyssa, are we glad to be back to warmer weather?
Well, Trevor, I'm definitely excited to be back in this normal, warmer weather. I'm not, like I said in first look, I'm not really a snow type of person, so I'm excited that the sun came back out. But right now, looking at our current conditions right now, it's 60 degrees in Denton, as I mentioned, McKinney 62, Sulphur Springs 66. So as you can see across the Metroplex, it is in the mid to low 60s. But right now, looking across the state right here, we got Abilene here at 57, Amarillo at 53, and we got Houston down here at 68. These temperatures are basically the opposite of last week, which is insane right here. But I'm gonna just go off so y'all can see the 7-day forecast right here. Right now it will get high to 78 degrees. Tomorrow it will be 63. It'll be sunny these next 2 days. However, starting on Thursday, it will be raining until Monday, which I'm not looking forward to, but I think it is better than snow for sure. But yeah, back to y'all at the desk.
After the break, we'll show you a special place that should be on your next road trip.
And all the latest news from our sports reporter. Stick around.
The house or even take any trips.
Yes, indeed. Kevin Pacheco has a story about a fun destination. Kevin.
That's right, guys. My segment partner, Naomi Sanchez, took a trip to Longhorn Park. She tells us why this is such a beautiful destination to visit whenever we're not stuck indoors.
Listen up, all my nature lovers. If lakes, walking trails, and parks are something of interest to you, then the Longhorn Benbrook Lake is sure to impress.
With a lake as vast as the view can see, Longhorn Park is good for fishing, picnicking, or just for watching the sunset. One of the best features, though, has got to be the trails, which run for many miles. Their true beauty comes later at night, though, when the sun sets and the city lights come on.
One thing not many people may know about this park, though, is that apart from its scenic views, Longhorn Park is home to the Army Corps of Engineers, which actually reside right here in this building behind me, and their job is pretty much to regulate lake levels when they get too high or too low.
Fort Worth residents have even shown their love for this park through social media, from camping to fishing to even showing a pup's first snow. With COVID still around, this park has offered residents a way to go out without worry. Here's how Longhorn Park has kept locals busy.
The main thing that I do when I come here is look at the scenic views and the sunset that they have,
and I also go on the hiking trails. And during the summer, I go down into the boat unloading station and I take out my...
The weather has been a lot nicer recently. I hope to get out and explore more locations soon. Back to you guys at the desk.
Well, I have to admit, I consider myself a pretty big sports fan, especially when it comes to the Dallas Stars.
It is always great to cheer on our home teams. We have Shaji Adam has all the latest sports news, right, Shaji?
Thanks, Jocelyn. Last week, the winter storm had sports in Texas put on hold, but this week, they have more than made up for lost time. The Mavericks were in action against Memphis, the Stars continue to struggle, and UNT's track and field were part of history. I'll discuss it all when we come back. After a crushing loss to the Blazers, the Mavericks were looking to bounce back at home against the Memphis Grizzlies. This win was exactly what the doctor ordered, as this game was all Dallas. The team overall had a nice performance, but it was Tim Hardaway Jr. that made a statement, as he had 29 points on 64% shooting off the bench, helping the Mavs win 102-92. The Mavs' next matchup is against Boston tonight at 6:30. And the Mavs had been having an up and down season, but for the Stars, there seems to be no up in sight. Dallas was on the road to take on the Florida Panthers, trying to end their winless streak. The Stars had a 1-goal lead at the end of the first period, but after that, they fell apart in a 3-1 loss. It was an unfortunate waste of a career game for goalie Anton Khudobin, as the Stars now have lost 6 games straight. And North Texas men's track and field competed at their championships on Sunday. The men's team overall had a second place showing and earned 4 individual titles. The star of the entire event was Antonio De La Cruz. De La Cruz became a 2-time CUSA champion, the first ever in UNT history, with his victory in the 60-meter and 200-meter dash. That's all I have. Sending it back to you at the desk.
Thanks, Shaji. St. Patrick's Day is coming up, and while many of us will be stuck at home to celebrate, you may want to pick up this updated board game. The classic family fun game Candyland has teamed up with Lucky Charms cereal in order to celebrate the Celtic holiday, trying to catch Lucky, the leprechaun, as he runs off with his famous cereal. After all, we are always after his Lucky Charm.
Thanks for watching us on ntTV News at noon.
Join us again tonight at 6 here on North Texas Television.